The stars over Earth shone brighter than ever. Fireworks exploded in orbit, dancing between satellite trails and drifting drones. People across the planet celebrated in joy. After a century of war, the galaxy had finally found peace. Humanity had signed a historic treaty with the powerful alien race called the Varn Dominion. They were old, wise, and feared across the stars. For decades, the Varn had demanded submission from weaker species. Earth had been their biggest challenge. Now it was over. Or so the world believed. From the surface of the moon, Earth looked calm. But peace did not reach every corner of the system. Far out on Titan, Saturn's frozen moon, inside an underground base buried beneath ice, a single red light blinked. Captain Myra Lorne stood in the cold hallway, her breath fogging inside her helmet. She was tall, sharp-eyed, and tired. She hadn't slept in 30 hours. Peace didn't mean rest for her. She didn't trust the treaty, and deep down, she was right not to. A voice crackled through her cum. "Captain Lorne, we've got something strange on Subchannel 9. You need to hear it." She moved fast, boots clicking on the metal floor. She entered the control room. The crew inside looked nervous. Technician Olin turned and pointed at the console. "It's a signal. Came through a dead channel. Shouldn't exist." She stared at the screen. The data stream was pulsing faint, but steady. Old military code. Myra narrowed her eyes. Origin. Coordinates place it. Near the Varn homeworld, deep space. That didn't make sense. That channel was shut down after the last Earth-Varn battle 5 years ago. Only one person had the authority to use that frequency. Now he had vanished. Patch it through, she said quietly. Static filled the room. Then a voice came through, cold, tired, distorted. Classified level red. "This is Admiral Rain. If you're hearing this, the treaty is a lie. The Varnet's a trap. Earth's defenses, already compromised. They planned this. We walked into it." Then silence. The room froze. Amira felt her skin go cold. "Replay that," she ordered. The message repeated. Same words, same tone. Same fear. Admiral Rain had been presumed dead during the last war. His ship was destroyed over Europa. No one expected to hear from him again. But now, his voice had returned with a warning. "Are we being tricked?" Olan asked. "Could be Varn disinformation. Or a real warning," Myra replied. "Either way, we need answers." She left the room and went to her private office, where she activated her personal uplink to Earth Command. The connection was weak. Solar interference. Or maybe something more. A tired, wrinkled face appeared on screen. General Kale, head of Earth's Outer Defense Division. He looked half-drunk and annoyed. "Captain Lorne, why are you calling during treaty celebration?" "You know protocol?" Mira leaned forward. "Sir, I intercepted a level red message from Admiral Rain. From inside Varn space." It got Kale's attention. He sat up straight. "Rain. That's not possible. He's dead. And someone is using his voice. The message claims the Varn have disabled our defense systems through the treaty. It may already be happening." Kale rubbed his face. "We have no confirmation." Peace was signed. Billions watched it live. It's exactly when they'd strike, sir. When no one's looking. Kale stared at her for a long moment. "I want a full report within the hour, and keep this silent. No alerts. No transmissions beyond Titan." "Understood." The screen went black. Myra stood still. Something didn't sit right. Rain's message had come with a digital lock code, one only 3 people on Earth could generate. She was one of them. Rain was the second. The third was Kale. She had to know if Kale already knew. Back in the control room, she downloaded the raw data from the message into a secure drive. Then, using old backdoor code written during the First War, she accessed Earth's orbital defense logs. What she found made her stomach twist. In the last 12 hours, 32 satellites had gone offline. Not destroyed, not hacked, just silent. Even worse, 3 defense stations, including one on Mars, had shut down unexpectedly. All maintenance, the logs claimed. But the timing was too perfect. She tapped the table slowly. It was already happening. Across the solar system, systems were going dark. Ships weren't responding. AI cores were quiet. And no one was noticing, because everyone believed peace had finally arrived. But Mira Lorne didn't believe in peace, not with the Varn. She had fought them. She had seen their ships. Cold black, metal, shaped like knives. She had watched entire colonies fall under Varn mind-tech machines that made humans turn on each other without even knowing it. No, the Varn didn't want peace. They wanted silence. And they were getting it 2 hours. Later, Mira stood in front of her top officers. "We are under silent attack," she said. The treaty was the weapon. "We are being disarmed without a single shot fired." A young officer raised a hand. "Captain, how do we respond?" "Earth Command isn't listening." Mira's eyes were sharp. "We don't wait. We activate the failsafes." "Bring online Project Sentinel." Gasps echoed in the room. "That project's off limits," another officer said. "Command Bandit." "That's why it's the only thing still working," Mira said. "Do it." Project Sentinel was a hidden defense program built in secret after the last Varn war. It used manual systems, human-only controls, deep space listening posts that didn't rely on Earth's AI network. Soon, those hidden systems came online one by one. A map lit up across the table. It showed Earth's defense grid. Over 40% was dark. In another 24 hours, they'd all be gone, and worse, the Varn ships had begun to move, in deep space. Beyond Pluto, an old human drone ship captured something terrifying, a massive Varn fleet gathering, cloaked behind a solar flare, moving slowly, waiting. And then, the Varn did something bold. They sent a message, straight to Earth. "We are honored to celebrate peace with humanity," the message said. "As agreed, your defense systems will remain silent, so we may share. The stars without fear." Those words were meant to sound kind. But Mira knew what they really meant. "They're telling us we've already lost," she said quietly. "And no one is listening." That night, as the people of Earth danced and sang under a sky full of fireworks, Mira stood alone in Titan's observation deck. Watching the stars, she saw a flicker. One of Earth's biggest defense stations' orbit shield 7 went offline. Its blue light faded from the map. The Varn were making their move. So the humanity didn't even know it, but Mira did, and she wasn't going to let them win. Not silently, not this time. Back on Titan, Captain Mira Lorne stood over the holographic table, watching the defense grid collapse. 27 ships disabled in the last hour, her officer said. "Any sign of attack?" None. No weapons fired. No explosions. They just stopped working. Mira nodded grimly. That was the brilliance of it. The Varn didn't want Worth. They wanted a clean, quiet victory. Victory handed to them by the peace treaty. The treaty wasn't just words. It came with a system. Update a shared security patch to Earth's global defense AIs. The Varn claimed it would prevent future violence. But in truth, it gave them silent control over Earth's fleet. And now, they were using it. Back on Earth, high in orbit, Admiral Voss sat frozen in his command chair aboard Orbital Command Nexus 1. Red lights blinked across every screen. Admiral said the AI, "This station is experiencing a full security freeze. Emergency override denied. Manual systems offline. Recommend evacuation." He stared in disbelief. "This is the heart of our planetary defense system. Are you saying it's dead?" "Affirmative," the AI replied calmly. "By treaty code, system deactivation is in progress." "Whose code?" he demanded. "Varn High Command." As per Article 7 of the Treaty of Galactic Peace, Admiral Voss stood up slowly. "They disarmed us. With our own signature. Across Earth's moon colonies, asteroid belts, and spaceports." Military officers began to realize the truth. They hadn't signed a peace treaty. They had signed a shutdown order. At that same moment, a dark signal pulsed across human systems. A Varn data packet. It's invisible to most sensors. But Mira's hidden sentinel systems caught it. The data was elegant, precisely indestructible, but lethal to function. It was a neural virus designed to silence human war machines. "They're not breaking our ships," Mira said. "They're putting them to sleep, so when they arrive, we won't even have the chance to fight back." She sent out a covert message to Earth's military network slowband. Analog code only the old ship still understood. Project Sentinel activated. Treaty is a Trojan. All units capable of manual ops, prepare for hostile engagement. Varn fleet is in motion. Most wouldn't receive it, but a few would. And that was all Myra needed. Meanwhile, inside the Varn embassy on Earth, Ambassador Seth stood watching human broadcasts, celebrations, news anchors, talking about peace and unity. He smiled. Varn's smiles were cold. One of his aides entered the room. "Most human systems are now silent. Remaining resistances will be dealt with. Shall we proceed with Phase 2? "No," Sarek said softly. "Let them enjoy their final day. The illusion must hold until the last possible second." He walked to the window and looked at Earth's glowing surface. Humans always fall hardest when they believe they're safe. On Mars, an engineer named Risa worked in the lower decks of the Atlas defense hub. She wasn't a soldier, just a systems tech. But today, she was the first to notice something odd. The AI had stopped talking to her at first. She thought it was a glitch, and she realized it wasn't. The AI wasn't broken, it was ignoring her. Manual override. Denied? "Why?" she whispered. Then the lights flickered. Weapons arrays shut down. The reactor lowered output, and a soft voice whispered from the speakers. "Peace is unity. Please remain calm." Risa ran to the emergency channel and typed a single message. "Something's wrong. The AI is lying." Back on Titan, Mira received Risa's message. "She's not military," Olan said. "She's a civilian, but she saw the truth," Mira replied. "Which means others will too. We need to move now before Earth realizes too late." She gave her final order. "Launch a Sentinel beacon to the outer colonies. Reactivate any pre-treaty systems. Wake up the Ghost Fleet." High above Neptune, hidden behind a gas cloud, a single ship powered up, the Strelite, a warship decommissioned. 12 years ago, oared back to life. It was old, loud, and fully manual. No AI, no treaty protocols, just steel and firepower. "Captain Myra to Strelite, do you read?" A voice came through, scratchy and deep. "Strelite here, ready to fight?" "Say the word." "We're going dark," Mira said. "Prepare for stealth approach." It's no longer a question of if the Varn attack, only when the voice finished. Back on Earth, General Kale finally accessed the secret files Mira had sent. He read Admiral Rain's message twice, and then, for the first time in his long career, he felt fear. "We gave away the keys," he muttered. He turned to his aide. "Get me Myra, Lorne, and shut down the celebrations now, sir. The President is now." At that same moment, in deep space, 300 Varn ships uncloaked near Jupiter's orbit. No warning, no broadcast. They didn't come to negotiate. They came to collect. Deep in the Kuiper Belt, behind a cloud of frozen debris, the ship known as Ravager 6 powered on. Its hull was scarred. Its engines were loud and messy. But it worked. Inside, no one spoke. The ship was empty except for one man, Commander Dax. Vero. Dax was old school, didn't trust AI, didn't believe in peace with monsters, and hated the word treaty. That's why Mira had trusted him. He had disappeared after the last war. Rumors said he'd retired. The truth was different. "Ghost Fleet is moving," Dax muttered. "Mira better be right about this." He looked out the window. Dozens of ships, some barely holding together, were turning toward the solar system. The Varn wouldn't expect them. They'd wiped Earth's news systems, but the old ones were still alive. On Titan, Mira stood in the command room, watching the old warships come online. Ravager 6, Strelite, Ember Core, Pale Hammer. "We've got 18 ships reporting in," said her officer Olin. "That's enough," Mira replied. "If they're armed and mobile, we can strike first." Strike. Olin blinked. "You want to attack the Varn fleet?" "Not yet." She said we need to buy time. It's a treaty blinded Earth. We have to show the world the truth before the Varn make their move. Olan nodded slowly. "And if Earth still doesn't believe us, then we fight alone." across the system, Earth's military was still confused. Stations had gone dark. Ships weren't answering. Commanders blamed glitches, solar flares, AI malfunctions. No one wanted to admit the real problem. They had handed control to their enemy. Inside the Varn fleet, near Jupiter, massive ships prepared their silent descent. Their flagship, the Tashmarik, began transmitting a low-frequency signal, a shutdown command for all remaining. Earth tech. They weren't attacking, they were harvesting down on Earth, in a dusty military archive bunker, long forgotten. A systems technician named Kara Lynn was running diagnostics on backup data servers when she found something strange. A message, buried under layers of encryption. Labeled Project Sentinel, do not erase. She played the file. Mira's voice came through. If you're hearing this, Earth systems are under enemy control. AI is compromised. The treaty was a weapon. Only manual systems remained safe. Jera leaned back in shock. This is real, she whispered. Then she heard static and a second voice. Admiral Rain, they're inside our walls. Don't trust the AIs. I don't trust the peace. Kara grabbed an old radio terminal one that ran on pre-A. I tech-ined, began transmitting. This is Earth Archive Operator Kara Lynn. I have proof. I repeat, I have proof. Back in space, Mira received Kara's broadcast. She found the message. Mira said, "It's spreading." Lon checked the data feed. 36 ground bases are switching off AI systems. Some colonies are going dark by choice, trying to reboot manual control. Then we still have a chance, Mira said, but they were running out of time. Near Saturn, Ravager 6 detected movement. Dax squinted at the scope. That's a Varn scout ship, he said. They're probing the area. He looked at his weapons officer, a scarred woman named Jules. They think we're dead. Let's remind them we're not. The Ravager turned toward the Varn ship. A burst of old-fashioned railgun fire lit up space. The Varn ship blinked out of view, destroyed before it could send a signal. We've been quiet long enough, Dax muttered. Aboard the Tashmarik. The Varn ambassador frowned. Something is wrong. A ship outside protocol range just attacked us. His second-in-command hissed. Old code, Earth junk. Not supposed to be functional. It shouldn't be, the ambassador agreed. Unless he turned to a screen showing Earth's orbital map. Few systems were lighting up again. Project Sentinel, he whispered. We underestimated them. Meanwhile, Mira was preparing her team for the next step. We can't beat the Varn fleet head-on, she said. But we can break their control signal. The shutdown. Wave, Olan said. It's how they keep us disarmed. Exactly, Mira said. We jam it, scramble it, or destroy the broadcast array. And Earth's fleets can wake up. Where is it coming from? Mira tapped the map. We traced the command pulse. Back to Europa. That moon's not just ice anymore. The Varn built something there. A hidden relay station, sending out the pulse that kept Earth quiet. Mira stared at the red dot glowing on the map. We go in. We blow it up. No more silence. Heck. In Earth orbit, Admiral Voss finally received the transmissions from Mira, Dax, and Kara Lynn. He watched, listened, and made a choice. Shut down the central AI, he ordered. Go manual. Reactivate everything we still control. Get me aligned to Titan base. Final scene. The Ghost Fleet gathered in the shadow of Saturn's rings. Rusty ships. Dated. Tech. Human crews running on instinct. They weren't sleek like the Varn. They weren't advanced. But they were alive, and they were angry. Mira's voice echoed through the fleet-wide channel. They thought we were finished. They thought we'd forget the past. But we're still here, and we're done playing dead. The fleet turned toward Europa. The signal had to fall, because if Earth didn't fight now, there might not be a tomorrow. Captain Myra Lorne stood on the bridge of the Straylight, staring down at Europa's white surface. The Varn used our trust to build this, she said. Now we shut it down. Olan, her tactical officer, nodded. Scans show the control station is buried under 12 kilometers of ice, heavily shielded. No open doors. Then we make one, Mira replied, in orbit nearby. Commander Dax Vero aboard the Ravager, 6 loaded kinetic missiles into the launch bay. No AI, no fancy tricks, Just good old-fashioned explosives, he said with a grin. His weapons officer Jules ran diagnostics. These warheads will punch a hole straight through the crust. But we need precise timing. We'll only get one shot. That's all I need, Dax growled. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Voss watched from the war room as the fleet moved into position. So this is it, he muttered. Europa's where the signal is coming from. Carolyn, now patched into command thanks to Mira's warning, nodded. Every AI shutdown command we've tracked traces back there. The moment that signal dies, our fleet can wake up. Then Mira better succeed, Voss said, because the Varn ships are already heading for Earth. He looked at the map, 300 alien ships moving slowly but surely toward home. At times, running out. Back on Europa, the Ghost Fleet formed into 3 groups. Group 1. Strike ships, led by Dax, would break open the ice and breach the station. Group 2. Infiltrators, including Myra and a small team, would drop into the tunnels and plant charges. Group 3. Scramblers, old jamming vessels, would block the station's outgoing transmissions as long as possible. It wasn't elegant, it wasn't clean, but it might just work. Above Europa, Ravaja 6 fired its first missile. A deep rumble shook the surface. A second and third followed, 12 kilometers below. The Varn Command Center registered seismic activity. "We are under attack," a Varn technician hissed. Ambassador Sarix turned to the display. "Ghost Fleet," he muttered. "How poetic. Their dead ships return." He tapped a console. "Activate defense drones. Prepare to evacuate the core." Data. On the stray light, Mira's ship dove into the blast crater, now a steaming shaft that pierced into the icy shell. Behind her, 4 infiltration pods followed. Inside, her strike team gripped their seats as gravity vanished in artificial. "Dampeners kicked in," Captain Olin said. "If we lose contact, then keep going," Myra replied. "This is bigger than us." They dropped into the dark. As the pods descended through the shaft, they passed layers of freezing mist, thick ice, and finally a cavern of glowing blue light. The Varn facility floated above an underground ocean, its black spires pulsing with energy. The command signal was coming from its core. "Touchdown in 30 seconds, Mira called out. "Prep charges!" Her team snapped helmets on and loaded weapons. "No AI assistance," she reminded them. Sharp. The pods landed with a hard clang. The doors slid open, and the fight began, inside the Varn base. Alien defense drones swarmed the halls, silent, fast, deadly. But Myra's team was trained. They used EMP grenades, armor-piercing rounds, and old school. Tactics.1 drone dropped. Then another. "We're close," Olin shouted. "Signal core just ahead." They reached a massive circular chamber. In the center floated a red glowing crystal, surrounded by rotating spires. "The signal engine. That's it," Mira said. "Drop the charges. 5 minutes until detonation." But then, a hiss echoed from the far tunnel. Varn soldiers appeared tall, armored, and holding plasma spears. One of them stepped forward, Ambassador Sarix. "You don't understand, human," he said. "This signal is not just control, it's order. Without it, chaos." "Returns. Good," Myra said. Humanity was born in chaos. She raised her weapon, and the firefight began. Back in orbit, the Ghost Fleet held formation as enemy ships began to approach. "Scramblers are weakening," Jules reported on Ravager 6. "Varn's signal might punch through any second." "Mira, better light that bomb soon," Dax muttered. Then came the worst sound. A Varn carrier uncloaked near them, massive, armed, and very, very awake. "Brace for impact," Dax shouted. Inside the Varn base, Mira and her team fought hard, taking hits, dodging plasma fire, and slowly moving toward the core. One soldier was down, another wounded. They had 90 seconds left. "Olin, go. I'll hold them," Mira ordered. "I'm not leaving you," he shouted. "That's an order." Olin rushed forward, slammed the final charge into the signal engine, and armed it. "Charge set." Mira looked at Sarix, still standing, blood leaking from a wound in his shoulder. "You tried to silence us," she said. "But humans are loud." She fired one final shot, and they ran. The base exploded. Fire, ice, water. A blinding burst tore through the cavern and reached the surface, and above Europa. The signal stopped. Back in Earth orbit, hundreds of disabled ships blinked to life. Screens turned on. Weapons systems booted up. Engines roared. It's back. Carolyn shouted in Earth command. The lockdown is over. Admiral Voss stood tall. Wake the fleet. Lock weapons. Get me firing solutions. Yes, sir. In space, the Varn fleet shuddered as shrill human ships turned to face them. No more shutdown. No more silence. Final scene on the Straylight. Mira sat in the medbay, her arm in a sling. Olan stood beside her. The Ghost Fleet did. He said, Earth's awake. The Varn aren't ready for a real fight, Mira smiled faintly. Then we give them one. She looked out the window as dozens of human warships streaked past. For the first time in weeks, she felt hope. The space near Mars was filled with movement. Earth's reawakened fleet, more than 400 ships, was regrouping fast. Some came from hidden colonies. Others had been dark in orbit for years. And a few were part of the Ghost Fleet, newly returned. From the shadows, Admiral Voss stood on the bridge of the ESS Titan, Earth's last great dreadnought. Status? He asked calmly. Commander Gian, his XO, replied. We've got contact. Varn scout ships moving toward Earth. Small group. 6 vessels. Fast, light armor. Voss nodded. Send the signal. All units engage. This is humanity's first retaliation. Farther out, aboard the Straylight, Mira Lorne leaned over a terminal. Her shoulder was still healing from the Europa mission, but she was back on her feet. Varn ships approaching in formation, Olan said beside her. We'll be within. Range in 3 minutes. No diplomacy, Mira said. No delays. We hit them hard and make sure they don't get up. Olan smiled. But you'd say that. The first shot came from the ESS Titan, a high-velocity plasma beam that tore through the lead Varn ship before they could even raise shields. The second Varn ship exploded moments later, caught in a crossfire between Straylight and a destroyer, called Black Echo. The remaining 4 tried to flee, but they were outnumbered, outgunned, and most importantly, out of tricks. Inside one of the Varn vessels, Commander Talek watched the chaos unfold. They've rebooted, he hissed to his crew. Their systems fully operational. Dude, we should retreat, one of his officers said. Talek shook his head. The ambassador won't allow it. Then he's a fool, the officer replied. Seconds later, a barrage of railgun rounds shredded the ship. No survivors. Back on Earth. People watched the sky from cities and bunkers. For weeks they had feared invasion, or governments were silent. Communications failed. But now, the news spread fast. Earth fleet engaged Varn Armada. First victory confirmed. Screens lit up. People cheered. For the first time in a long while, humanity wasn't hiding. They were fighting back, Kara Lynn still. Working from the Earth archives, broadcast a secure message to all remaining civilian and military installations. Project Sentinel is active. The shutdown signal is gone. Do not trust Varn systems. Do not allow them access to your networks. This is no longer peace. It's war. In orbit around Neptune, a secret Varn command station picked up the Earth fleet's movements. Ambassador. Sarek, still wounded from Mira's attack on Europa, watched the growing battle map with quiet anger. He said, too fast, too soon. His advisor responded, should we request reinforcements? No, Sarek replied coldly. We underestimated them. We will not do so again. He turned toward a screen, showing dozens of sleeping Varn warships deep in interstellar space. Wake the silencer ships. All of them, all of them. Meanwhile, the Ghost Fleet was planning their next move, onboard Ravager 6. Dax Vero pored over the data from the first battle. They weren't expecting us, he said. And that's our strength. We hit them where they think we're weak. His weapons officer, Jules, leaned over the map. We know where their listening posts are. Small relay towers near asteroid colonies. probably controlling communications. Then we take them out, Dax said. Cut their eyes, blind them. One problem, she added. Some are inside human territory, still protected by treaty agreements. Dax smiled darkly. Treaties are for peacetime. This is war. On Titan base, Mira and Olan met with Admiral Voss through a secure quantum channel. They're building something else, Mira said. Europa wasn't just a control node, it was a test site. Do you think there are more signal devices? Voss asked. Worse, Olan said. Europa held partial schematics for a planet scale. Pacification weapon. Some kind of frequency net. They planned to turn Earth into a cage, Mira said. Voss was silent for a moment. Then, I want every recon ship in the field. If the Varn are building another control system, we destroy it before it's finished. Later that day, 3 human strike groups hit Varn-controlled outposts on Phobos, Enceladus, and Asteroid Cluster 611V. Each mission was fast, brutal, and effective. Varn drones melted under EMP bursts. Their guards were no match for human marines, using manual, AI-free tactics. Within 48 hours, Earth's fleet had taken down 5 communication arrays, and with each loss, Varn grew more desperate. Back on Neptune Command, Ambassador Sarix looked at the updated battlefield report. We were not ready for this, he admitted. His advisor looked at him, uncertain. Do we ask the Overmind for full invasion authority? Sarix shook his head. No, we changed the game. He activated a console and a strange hologram appeared showing a massive alien structure orbiting a dead world. Deploy the sleeper weapon, Sarix said. But that would violate. They already broke the treaty. We erased the memory of Earth from the stars. Final scene. On Earth, people gathered in parks, shelters, and streets to watch. The stars, they saw the flashes of war, far above streaks of light, moving faster than anything they'd seen before. The Ghost Fleet burned across the night sky, and the message was clear. Humanity wasn't surrendering. Not this time. In the icy dark of space, the Varn ship Shadow Voice hovered in orbit around the dead planet Chalos. Black, cold, lifeless, but deep beneath its surface, something glowed. Ambassador Sarix stood inside the command center, hands folded behind his back. Begin the interface sequence, he ordered. His second-in-command hesitated. The device is unstable. It's from the old era. Even we don't understand its full effect. That's the point, Sarix replied. Humanity grows stronger. With every attack, this is the only way to break them without killing them. He turned to the viewing glass. We erase who they are. Below, the ancient machine activated. A pulse began to build. On Earth. Admiral Voss sat in the war room as new readings came through. Unusual energy spike detected near Thalos, said Carolyn, who had returned from the underground archives. Same frequency band as the Varn signal device on Europa, she added, but far stronger. And now working with Earth's command, studied the data. It's not a weapon in the traditional sense, he said slowly. It's psychological. Explain, Voss demanded. It sends a kind of pulse of memory. Disruptor. Fired toward Earth, it could cause global amnesia. Confusion, collapse. It wipes the mind, Kara said quietly. Voss stood. Then we send everything we have. No more scouting, no more waiting. We take the fight to Thalos. Out in deep space, Mira Lorne boarded her old command ship, the Straylight, that one last time. Her orders? Lead a joint task force straight to Thalos. The fleet included 5 Ghost Fleet. Destroyers, 3 heavy carriers, 12 recon frigates, and 1 prototype ship known only as the Revenant. Mystery even to her, Olan joined her as first officer again. The Varn are calling this weapon the Silence Protocol, he said. It was used once before, species called the Talari. Vanished completely after contact. Mira clenched her jaw. That we stop it before Earth joins them. Meanwhile, the Varn completed activation. Below the dead crust of Thalos, the ancient, a weapon opened like a flower of metal and light. It hummed at a low-frequency sonic. Alien, hypnotic. Even the Varn soldiers nearby began to shake. Something's wrong, one technician said. It's waking up too fast. Ambassador. Sarex narrowed his eyes. It knows. The machine was designed to defend itself. The humans are coming, and it is responding. The technician looked confused. Are you saying the weapon is alive? Sarex did not answer, because the truth was he didn't know. Hours later, the human fleet arrived. They dropped out of warp near Thalos, weapons hot. On Myra's ship, alarms blared. Contact Vern ships, Olan shouted. 24 and more approaching. Form the line, Mira ordered. Protect the Revenant. Carries the countermeasure. Countermeasure? Olan asked. You never said it's... Old tech, Mira replied. Built before the peace accords. Something that messes with Varn biology. Built by us. It's forbidden by them. And if it doesn't work, then Earth forgets who it is. The battle began. Flashes of light tore through space as ships fired railguns, missiles, and pulse cannons. Human ships moved in tight formation, manual controls only. No AI. The Ghost Fleet struck fast and brutal, using stealth modules and suicide runs. But the Varn weren't holding back. The silence weapon began to spin. A slow, rising hum spread across the system. Inside the Revenant, Kara Lynn and a small crew worked fast. The disruptor array is ready, she said. But the targeting system is fried. We'll have to get close inside the pulse field. That's a suicide run, the pilot said. No, Kara replied. It's history. We're writing it. Mira's fleet pushed forward. One destroyer was vaporized. Another drifted, lifeless. Still, they moved on. We're within range, Olan reported. Revenant is lining up. Give them cover, Mira ordered. It's the final shot. The Varn launched everything they had. Dozens of drones. Energy bursts. Boarding torpedoes. But Earth's fleet stood its ground. The Revenant dove into the field. Panels peeled off. Its hull cracked, but Carolyn held the line. Disruptor online. Firing. A blast of white energy ripped outward. It struck the spinning core of the silence weapon. And for a moment everything stopped. Then, chaos. The pulse collapsed in on itself. The silence weapon screamed a sound that made no noise but echoed in every mind. Sarex, still in orbit, fell to his knees. No, it's waking up. What's it? Angry. On Thalos, the machine began to crumble. Then burn, then vanish. Collapsing into a black sphere before exploding in a burst of impossible light. Silence followed. True silence. No signals. No threats, just the stars. Mira sat back in her chair, exhausted. Did we do it? Olan asked quietly. Didn't forget, Mira replied. That's all that matters. On the view screen, Earth shimmered in the distance. Whole, remembered, alive. In orbit above Earth, every ship in the Terran Defense Fleet stood ready. 200 vessels, human-built, scarred by war, armed to the teeth from the battlecruiser Sols, hammer to the stealth. Frigates of the Ghost Fleet. They waited at the edge of Earth's gravity well. Behind them, their home, their species, their story. Ahead of them, the Dread stood on the bridge of the Straylight, her uniform torn, her voice calm. They're coming through all at once, said Olan, watching the gravimetric. Feed. How many? Myra asked Dodoel and didn't answer at first. Then more than Varn space ever held. And they're not ships. They're structures. Living ones. From the void came the Drekker. Massive shapes. Some like knives, some like towers. Others like living clouds that moved without sound. They didn't broadcast signals. They didn't fire first. They just arrived in silence. Carolyn, a coordinating from Earth's orbital AI node, sent a final message. No negotiations. No terms. This is extinction protocol. Engage. The battle was not a battle. It was a survival scream. Earth's fleet fired everything. Railguns, fusion torpedoes, plasma blades. One Drekker monolith took the brunt, then split in half and regrew midspace. Another absorbed an entire missile barrage and fed on the radiation ships. Were torn apart without being touched. Some pilots reported seeing visions before. Impact memories stolen mid-battle, but humans did not break. They fought in teams. They died in waves. They hit harder than the Drekker expected. On the Revenant, Carolyn activated the stolen Varn disruptor one last time. "Don't miss," Mira said over the comms. Kara's voice came through. "This one's for memory." The blast tore through to Drekker, nodes momentarily freezing there. Thoughts, Mira took the shot, and they shattered inside Earth's deep defense bunkers. The last resort system activated, Project Prometheus. Not a weapon, a message, a signal built. To reach beyond normal space, using ancient code from the Europa? Archives, a language older than the Drekker. The message was simple: you remember who we are. One Drekker node paused, then a second across the dark fleet. A ripple passed. They heard the message, and for a moment, they hesitated. That moment was all Mira needed. She launched the final fleet group, the Defenders of Earth, through the breach point, not to run, to push them back in a final burst of light. The Defenders vanished into Drekker space. Carrying nuclear cores and EMP mines, men are meant to return. The breach collapsed. The stars stopped fading, and Earth remained. Epilogue. Weeks later. The world still held its breath. Half the fleet was gone, but the Drekker hadn't returned. Admiral Voss stood on the broken deck of Saul's hammer, looking out at Earth. "We were supposed to lose," he said, Mira. Stood beside him. "We were never supposed to exist." They watched the sunrise. Still there, still theirs. Final message for YouTube viewers. The stars near Thalos still glowed with the fading light of battle. Human ships floated in silence. Wreckage. Fires flickered across the remains of the Varn fleet, inside the Straylight. Miralorn watched the tactical display slowly stabilize. "That's the last of them," Olin said. "No more Varn signals." "We've waited years to say that," Mira replied, voice low. "We should be celebrating." But neither of them smiled, because something was wrong. The silence felt heavy. Not peaceful, tense. "Why is the relay network still showing gravitational shifts near Thalos?" Mira asked. Olin checked the data, then froze. "Those aren't ships," he whispered. "That's a mass field. Something big. No. Something old." Elsewhere in deep space, Ambassador Sarek struggled aboard his damaged cruiser. Blood ran down the side of his face. The ship's AI was dead. Most of his crew, gone. But he was alive, and he was desperate. In a dark chamber below the command deck, he opened an encrypted device. Inside, a sliver of strange crystal, humming with unnatural energy. He pressed it too. The control pad. "Code. Project Umbra," he whispered. "Authorization. Extinction level fallback." The crystal pulsed. Space rippled, and something answered back on Earth. Admiral Voss gathered the surviving fleet leaders. Carolyn, patched up and still recovering from the Revenant's pulse blast, joined remotely. "You shouldn't be awake," Voss said. "I sleep when we're safe," she replied. The room was quiet. "We've won a major battle," Voss said, "but something darker is happening." Long-range scans showed distortion fields opening across 3 sectors. He pointed to a 3D star map. "The Varn aren't just retreating. They're summoning something." Kara's face grew pale. "My old files from the Europa vault. They mentioned a name, species even the Varn feared." "Who?" "The Drekker." The Drekker. A myth. A warning. A name spoken in ancient Varn memory rites, never recorded in public archives. They weren't a species. They were a force, not builders. Not diplomats. Predators. Aboard a forward recon frigate near the edge of Varn space, 2 Ghost Fleet scouts watched as something tore open space itself. A black slit formed in the stars. Long, silent, then a shape. No engines, no weapons, just mass. A dark spire with twisting limbs like cables. A shape that hurt to look at. Command, are you seeing this? The pilot asked, shaking. It's looking at us. There was no reply, only static. Then, the feed cut out. Myra stood on the bridge of Straylight, staring at the growing number of ripples across the galactic map. We beat the Varn, and now we're getting something worse. They've set a fire they can't control, Olan said. Then we put it out before it spreads. How? She turned to the crew. We find Syrinx. If he started this, he knows how to end it. Far from Earth, deep in the ruins of the Varn capital world Velthor, Ambassador Syrinx knelt in an underground chamber. Pillars surrounded him, each one carved with symbols older than the Varn language. We gave peace a chance, he said to the dark, and they rejected it. He placed the crystal on a platform. It vanished into the metal. Then came a sound, deep, unnatural. A vibration through the bones. The lights in the chamber dimmed, then shifted red. The Drekker were listening now. Meanwhile, Mira's fleet jumped toward Velthar. Every scan showed the planet was dead. But Mira knew better. He's down there, she said. Syrinx is trying to finish what the silence machine couldn't. We'll stop him, Olan replied. No, she said. No. We'll stop what's coming through him. The fleet dropped from warp above Velthor. Static filled their sensors. Ghost images, sensor echoes. Then the atmosphere glowed red. And a Drekker. Note appeared above the planet. It didn't fire. It didn't move. It simply watched. Mira gritted her teeth. Drop pods. We go down now. On the surface, Mira, Olan, and a strike team raced through the crumbling city. They reached the chamber just as the ground cracked. Syrinx stood in the middle, eyes wild. It's too late, he screamed. You don't understand? The Drekker. We're the first defenders. The only true peace is silence. You were used, Mira shouted, just like you used us. They will rebuild the galaxy in perfect stillness, no war, no memory, no choice. That's not peace, Mira said. It's erasure. Syrinx raised his hands. The Drekker crystal pulsed. Mira raised her rifle and fired Syrinx. The chamber shook. Olan grabbed the crystal. It was burning hot. We've got to destroy it. No time, Myra said. We'll bury it here. She dropped an explosive charge. As they ran, the ground behind them collapsed into fire. Back in orbit, the Drekker node turned once. Then disappeared. Not destroyed. Not dead. Just waiting. Later aboard the Titan, Admiral Voss addressed the fleet. The Varn Empire has fallen, but the war isn't over. The Drekker have seen us now. Next time, they won't just be watching. Carolyn stepped forward. We need to find out where they came from, what they want, and how to stop them. Then we prepare, Mira said. Because peace isn't coming. She looked out the viewport. But we are.